There he is. Feeling a little better than Trevor Lawrence right now. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right, Big O. You know what? I have a theory. I think the NFL committee should let the Jaguars and Bengals in the playoff. What do you think about that?
I like it. I like it. The committee wouldn't have allowed Browning in last night, and see what happened.
Hey.
I tweeted that out. Whether it's Billy Hatcher for the Reds batting like 700 against the Bash Boys and the A's, watching Bo Kimball with Loyola Marymount carry him to the Elite Eight, watching a Michael Chang who was completely cramped up win the French Open against Yvonne Lendl, who was a power hitting tennis player in those days. I've watched the athlete overcome and do things that you didn't expect and lift their team. Larry Brown for the Raiders, Timothy Smith, or the Redskins rushed for like 200 yards in a Super Bowl that they won, and the guy never did anything before in the regular season and never did anything after that Super Bowl game. But everybody knows Timmy Smith from that moment, and to me, that I thought that was unfair to FSU to do what they did to them. They had earned the right, and you just never know. Maybe one of those young quarterbacks, the light goes on, and the kid plays the game of his life. And, hey, Kirk Gibson was injured, and he hit the biggest home run in the game for the Dodgers that won it. So, it just, you should never count out the athlete.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I don't know if a lot of people know this. I covered Florida State. It was my first job, pretty much as a journalist. I covered them after the title in 13, so 2014 to 2018, right before Willie Taggart's first season. And I was also an AP voter. I voted in the poll for at least 2 years. So this process is pretty familiar to me. Florida State kind of gets the short end of the stick, and if you're a Gators fan or a Canes fan, it's absolutely hilarious. Full disclosure, I went to Florida, so I've been finding it really funny personally that FSU got the short end of the stick to this. But what the committee did was decided that FSU was not going to be entertaining enough in the playoff. That's
Right.
plain and simple. Because of their backup situation. And for all the FSU fans out there, they're like, oh, well, the third string quarterback played against played in the last game against Louisville, but we're going to have the second string guy back. Like, that's completely missing the point here. It's the fact that the guy who got you there, Jordan Travis, is not playing. And so what would you want to do? See FSU get blown out by Michigan? I actually think FSU would have played Michigan probably pretty close. Did you want to go to see them get blown out by Washington? And then ruin the playoff, and then we have kind of a weekend playoff field here, or
I'm not sure it would get ruined. I don't know. Maybe the kid plays like Brock Purdy.
yeah, I mean, look, FSU has a chance against Georgia in this Orange Bowl in a game that both these teams don't want to play because both these teams think they deserve to be in the playoff. But the fact of the matter is, we don't want to see them ruin the playoff.
The Canes got their linebacker suspended before their national championship game years ago. His name was George Myra Jr., linebacker. And he was an incredibly important piece to the defensive puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was, wow, oh man, the Canes are losing maybe one of their most important defensive players. This is going to be a problem in this game. And all of a sudden, some guy named Bernard Tiger Clark came in, did nothing before, ever, was a reserve linebacker. Nobody knew him. And all of a sudden, he had the game of his life. He might have been, could you look it up? Was Bernard Tiger Clark the MVP also of that game? I think. And that's the part I don't like, man. They didn't leave the opportunity for something to happen that we would have never counted on. And that's the sad part about it. You know what I mean? You assumed when maybe there's a Tom Brady coming off the bench. Maybe there's a Brock Purdy coming off the bench.
It'd have been nice to see them when they came off the bench, though, Big O. These guys were.
You didn't see them either.
FSU quarterbacks were 21 of 46 completing passes in both these games. Both these guys, right?
Ask a Giants fan when Phil Simms went down Did you think that Jeff Hostetler was
Mm,
going to save their ass? And he did.
yeah, there's a
And
lot of opportunities like that, man.
yeah, man, that's why I'm saying
It's
you can't assume that.
the sad part too is FSU. They like their running back Benson, NFL guy. Day one. Excuse me, early day two. Their receiver could be day one, day two.
Yep.
That D tackle 55 came out of nowhere. I've only watched FSU play twice this year. The last two games, 55 is a. I thought he was a rotational player. This guy looked like the next Aaron Donald at some points in that game there. But that's kind of saying a little too much. But FSU got the short end of the stick here. Look, they're gonna play Georgia in the Orange Bowl and on the Saturday before all those playoff games, and that's their chance to really throw a middle finger up to the committee and everybody else. Do I think they're gonna do that? Absolutely not. Georgia's gonna blow them out, and the fact of the matter is, Georgia got eliminated by Alabama in the SEC title game. That's why they're out.
Yeah.
And you got to go through the conference there. I guess Texas had a better schedule. FSU couldn't help the fact that LSU had a down year at 9-3, and all the other off in the ACC had a down year as well too. If Clemson was up there, really up there, and not floundering to be top 25, maybe you had a better case for Florida State in that moment. But look, Jordan Travis is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I think some team is going to pick him up in the draft, and it's going to be a really good steal. He's probably really underrated still after what he won, what he did at FSU. I mean, he's not sexy, but he gets the job done. That's kind of what you want, from that kind of player. And I don't know, man. I think the committee got it right. I think we're going to have two better games in Michigan versus Alabama and Washington versus Texas than if Florida State was in the mix and they got blown out.
We won't know, but sophomore Bernard Clark was named the MVP of the 1988 Orange Bowl, helping Miami to a 2014 victory over Oklahoma in the national title.
Yeah, so
I
guess we'll never know.
I've lived it too many times to see it, and that's why we love sports.
Yeah,
Because of moments like that, because nobody knew who Larry Brown was, and nobody knew who Timmy Smith was, and nobody ever imagined that Billy Hatcher could do what he did, and it's just things like that we've witnessed in sports over the years, and to not give them the opportunity, it's kind of Brock Purdy again. It's you just
yeah.
I feel bad. I feel bad for FSU because they did everything that they were supposed to do. When Travis got injured, you should have told them, "Hey guys, you're out already, so don't bother." And then those guys all could have
They didn't do that. Yeah,
they could have taken off for the rest of the year. They could have gone getting ready for the draft. Hey coach, why am I going to play these last couple games? We're not going to make it anyway. So let's just move on. You know what I'm saying? And by the
Yeah.
way, Florida State and Georgia, how many of those guys are going to opt out of that Orange Bowl game?
I don't know. That's a Orange Bowl game, but that kind of talent, that's you get a good highlight in the Orange Bowl game. Your draft stock is pretty up. It's worth playing. And then when you look at the players, this is their last game to play together. Some of those guys, seniors, juniors, but that's the last time those teams will play together. Sometimes when you're down the road 5, 10, 20 years and you're meeting your teammates again, sometimes those memories last on, man. So, I can understand all the other reasons why you had played, and I can understand your reasoning as well, too.
Yeah, I think that they're not gonna. I think because of the situation, what happened to Florida State, I think a lot of the players that don't need it, and they're gonna opt out. They're gonna opt out
Yeah,
after
I
getting
could see.
screwed here. I can see them opting out. All right, so what'd you think of? I was reminded yesterday why I never watched the Manning cast. Personally, I think it sucked. But I love the Tua interview. Tua carried that interview, and his guitar playing, "Tears from Heaven" from Eric Clapton, that was outstanding.
I actually love the Sweet Home Alabama he started with beforehand.
Yes, I know.
That was he just picked up the guitar and strung it out so
Yeah,
quickly. If that was one of your first times to kind of seeing Tua in a social setting, it may have looked a little awkward just because you and I can actually see each other here, but it's different for the Manning cast. I would believe. I think they could see each other or see the game kind of going on, but when you're talking to somebody remotely like we are right now, it kind of leads to a little bit of an awkward conversation, especially when you don't spend a lot of time with those people. Tua probably hasn't watched a Manning cast at all, so he doesn't know that Eli likes to be a joker and all of it, and Peyton is very, very football serious there. And then there's a little bit of a delay too that kind of factors in when reviewing, so it makes it look a little awkward. But Tua did great, man. It was great to see the guitar. It was great to see him kind of loosen up a little bit in a different light. And that's kind of what you want. You want Tua to take these kind of opportunities and show himself off, just like Hard Knocks is doing with all the rest of the team as well too. But yeah, Tua definitely won the night. It was a great interview. I love the fact that they have the prediction wall kind of going up, and Tua really stretched out his decision there. I think he wanted to say he didn't think the Bengals were going to score, and then they did on the play. So I don't blame him there for not bashing the Bengals in that sense too. But yeah, I thought it was a good little segment for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. I thought it was actually cool to see him in that light, and it's good to see him, get that kind of love too. And maybe people will get off his ass. You know what reminded me of Tua? Zach Wilson.
How so?
Mm.
How so, Big O? Tell me.
So Zach Wilson doesn't want to go and play. He's afraid of
Reportedly,
getting injured and all that. So
reportedly,
Tua for 2 years had to play behind a line that all you could do is get injured. Ask Jesse Davis, who would play Matador and say, "Here, have it Tua's ribs," and he had to play for a coach that hated him.
yeah, that part is true. Not
And
fair to Jesse Davis, who's a great Dolphin.
yes, and a great Matador. He should live in Spain. Uh, so can you imagine Zach Wilson having to play for the Dolphins first 2 years if he had to play for a coach that hated him in a line that couldn't block? I mean,
This,
this
yeah,
guy's worried about going back into the lineup for New York when he should be going, "Yeah, let me get back in there. I gotta prove people wrong." Where that's all Tua ever does. No matter the situation, he wants to prove you wrong. So the
some
toughness and leadership of Tua compared to the lack of toughness and leadership of Zach Wilson.
yeah, some guys have it and some guys don't, man. And Zach Wilson definitely got the short end of the stick of everything here with the Jets. This is a really funny story. Zach Wilson pretty much told them, "Nah, I'm good. It's all right." And the fact of the matter is, this is probably Zach Wilson's last opportunity, in all honesty, to show an NFL team he's worth a backup spot next year, right?
Just made it worse.
Um,
He
he-
just made it worse.
if all those reports are true, he definitely made it worse. Robert Saleh came out and said yesterday that he had a meeting with Wilson, and Wilson told him he wanted the ball. And even Saleh was like, "I'm not there yet, so hold on. I'll tell you on Wednesday when we start the practice week." I would say though, Wilson has definitely gotten a bad. He's played horribly. He can't get to his second or third read. He holds on to the ball longer than anything when he should be ripping it the first 3 seconds he gets it. But also he's gotten the short end of the stick in the fact that they blame him for everything. You look at Robert Saleh on the sideline, and this guy's beside himself every time the camera's on him. Just unbelievable. He has to watch his offense flounder each and every week. If you're a Dolphins fan, it's hilarious to watch, right?
Yeah, it is.
But
But by the way, it's their own fault.
it's
They
all
were
their fault.
right. They never traded for a guy. They never made a move. Whatever, dude. You had Flacco last year, and there he's sitting there now. A team went and got him, and he played half decent for him this week. And he
Yeah,
certainly plays better than anything you have there outside of Aaron Rodgers. So what the hell, dude? Anything you Jake Browning you could have traded for months ago. Whatever, bro. I mean, just trade
they
for
didn't.
anything out there, bro. Anything that
Yeah,
you have, Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson. Come on, man.
yeah. I don't know if and they let Mike White come to the Dolphins because they had
Right.
Aaron Rodgers. Look, they went all in on Aaron Rodgers, and it backfired. It failed monumentally. And you kept Zach Wilson because he's still on a rookie contract, and you thought he could back him up and learn from Rodgers. It was great in theory, and it didn't work out at all. They didn't explore anything else from the QB market. The thing that drives me a little crazy about the Jets too is the fact that they really wanted to get Devontae Adams at the trade deadline, and the Raiders didn't fire their coach and GM yet, so they didn't pull it off. The Jets would have actually given up a draft pick to go get Devontae Adams, right? When all they need to worry about next year is, do we want Aaron Rodgers back? We need to draft a quarterback so we can keep our jobs. I think Robert Saleh and Woody Johnson, Woody Johnson's the owner, but I think Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, the GM, might be a little bit more comfortable in their jobs. They're all out next year if this QB situation is not fixed. They're all out.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, everybody's locked in for next year anyway because of
Yeah.
everything with Rodgers. So you might as well let it play out till next year. You know what I'm saying? But
I wouldn't do it if I was them. I would go get a quarterback in this draft. I would make sure I make the most of my first round pick because I haven't. And I didn't make the mistake of trading it away to somebody. And you go from there.
yeah, no, for sure.
And
If
you got to build the O line. You better get an O line in this draft too if you can.
that's probably priority one. If you're really coming back with Rodgers, then
Yeah.
you better build up that O line because the old man can't move anymore.
Hey,
And
Big O. Let's talk about the number one team in the AFC and the number one team in the AFC East. All right. Tired of
that
talking about these trash teams.
that is the truth. That is the truth. They are the number one team. Do they get Chris Brooks back this week?
I'm not sure about that. The fact that he was downgraded out late in the week, maybe a flare up or something like that. But I mean, you're not needing Chris Brooks right now, in my opinion. You need Armstead and some other people down the line.
Yeah, no, but
Chris Brooks probably
Armstead.
the fourth running back on the right now.
Yeah, no, but see, you're missing my point here. I understand that part, but Armstead's a guy I don't want to hurry back.
True.
Chris Brooks is a guy I want to hurry back because I've got Mostert dealing with 2 injuries. I just brought back a Chan. I kind of want to keep these guys fresh, and I'd like to use Brooks in some of these games because I want to have more of these other guys for the playoffs. So I actually feel that Brooks is important to get him back in there. One for sharing the carries and taking some of that load off, and two, he is a devastating blocker, and I love that about him.
You could also have Jeff Wilson play those carries. He's a
Okay.
crazy runner. He runs hard. He's not as big as Chris Brooks, but he runs harder and
Or
he's
fast.
got the team believes in him, just like he believes in the team. Jeff Wilson's probably a unsung guy in that locker room.
Yeah.
So you can give it to him too.
Yeah. No, I like Jeff Wilson. I just think we have I think Chris Brooks is a better runner. I think he has more speed. I think he has a better vision than Wilson. I just think that he's the kind of guy that's going to do more damage in the second level once he passed the line of scrimmage than Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is a solid professional. You know what I mean?
I
Whereas Chris
agree.
Brooks has just he has that extra gear that I don't think Wilson has in him. Plus, I actually, from what I've watched, I think Chris Brooks is the most complete back that they have on this team
Complete that he can do what? Catch passes out the backfield and run it hard or through the
and
tackles,
block
all that,
and block
and
the
block.
shit out of you. Yes, he does everything. And he has
Yeah, I can see
his
that.
vision is excellent, dude. Wow. I am so impressed with his vision. Some of the things he did in the preseason, I was blown away with that he was able to see,
Yeah.
some of those holes and I just love his anticipation. So I just think that that's a guy that I would like to get back. The Armstead stuff, I already told you, bro. I play
Get
the
him out of
young
there.
guy.
Get him
Yeah,
out of there.
yeah. Play the young guy. If Lamb can't come back this week, then play the young guy, bro.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Come on, man. You should have played him this past week against Washington. So that's one. What's the other injuries we're looking at right now?
I know Robert Hunt came out of the game early. Maybe it's something. Lester Cotton had a illness. Javon Holland didn't play with the knees. Hopefully you get him back. Um, I mean, that's it pretty much for me. You're still worrying about some guys down the line, some other bigger guys, but that's the earliest, the biggest signs for me right there. Javon didn't play, and they are pretty good. Hopefully he's back next week. Dolphins have it all in front of them, Big O. They have it all in front of them. This may be one of the easiest roads to the Super Bowl in NFL history. The Dolphins have the softest schedule in the NFL, right? They have three other teams at least in the playoff mix don't have their starting quarterbacks, right? Like the second round is very, very feasible immediately to walk into, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have playoff games the rest of the year from the Cowboys on. Every game right now is a playoff game because if the Dolphins could get the 1 seed, it would be right there on a silver platter.
Right.
They could have the week off for the number 1 seed, the bye. They could have the week off before the Super Bowl. It's all in front of the Dolphins if they want it. It's up to them if they want it or not. Cowboys, Ravens, Bills, that's where the season comes down to. Those are all playoff games.
I know.
Those are all playoff games. You're sending Baltimore down, so you see them later on the road. If you play the Bills game, that's kicking the Bills out the playoffs right there. That could be their last chance to make it, and you can't lose to them at home in the last game of the season. So these are all playoff games.
And let me tell you something. I think some of our Dolphin Nation and maybe even the media has fallen into this trap, and maybe I don't think they realize what's really happening right now with the Dolphins. And because we have all of this stuff, okay, so you haven't beaten the good teams yet, right? You've only beaten the bad teams. But I think if you put the entire equation together and you start to say, well, there's a reason for everything. One, if you look at the good games that you played, the good teams, those games you became more and more competitive as the season went on. Why? Because your defensive players got better as they learned the scheme. Jalen Ramsey stepped in and now has taken that defense to another level. So you have players that know what they're doing, and you have Jalen Ramsey also added to the mix, allowing Fangio to be even more effective. Something that I have not seen in ever since Shula, maybe early days Shula. I'm not used to watching backups come in on offense and defense and be effective. If you watch that, you've never covered a Dolphins team that has backups on offense and defense come in and be effective and continue to help you win, and you're not missing that much of anything when they're coming in overall. I'm not used to these kind of things. And I think what people aren't realizing is that I think Miami is now primed for those games coming up because now they're a better team. Now they're more complete with Jalen Ramsey. Now they're more educated on what they have to do, especially on defense. They're deeper than they've ever been on the offensive line. They've got a second wave of guys that are coming in and helping you overall. I actually think, and the other thing, again, watching this team for decades, they always would lose some of these bad games. They're not losing any of them. They're
Mm-hmm.
winning all 9 of them, which that's not very Dolphin like. They always get tripped up by somebody or 2 or 3 besides a tough game or 2. So for me, what I think the trap a lot of Dolphins are falling in on and media members is that they think that this is some of the same when it's not. It's actually a team that is maturing before your eyes and getting better and better in the process. And I think they're getting primed for these games, actually. Instead of people being worried about them, I think they should be excited about them because I think they're primed to actually start winning these kind of games. That's just
Yeah,
me.
definitely. Definitely. I agree with those points. And there's this Dolphins fan thought to very be focused on the negative because it's all right?
That's
You
all you
can't
know.
talk about you can't talk about Tua being healthy all season because oh my God, why would you jinx him? Why would you say that? Right? It's just a negative feeling because you're used to being an inferior fan and just worrying about the worst
And,
all the
and, and by
time.
the way, for the record, and it's all there recorded. And I said it all last year. Tua can
Uh-huh.
play healthy for the next 15 years. All he has to do is learn how to get rid of the damn ball. And
Yeah,
guess
and
what
learn how to
he's learned
fall.
to do this year? Get
Hmm.
rid of the ball. And when there's pressure, he's spiking it, he's throwing it out of bounds. He's doing what he was supposed to do in the first place. What Drew Brees did, what Greasy did, what Manning did, what Brady did. Those guys got
Hmm.
rid of the ball. They didn't want to get hit.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
simple.
Tua's very unlocked another level of his game. He is the fastest when it comes to getting rid of the football. It's a mechanism that Mike McDaniel has in his offense, and the problem is a lot of NFL quarterbacks, a lot of NFL offenses don't have that. Quarterbacks are used to holding on to the ball. They see Brady and they see Peyton Manning and like, all right, well, what I got to do? And now Peyton Manning is talking to you on the Manning cast. Got to get it out. Got to get it out. Got to get it out. Right. That's the hike the ball. You barely got 3 seconds. It's really more like 2. You better find your first or second read and go do it. Tua's done a great job of that, and the offseason work has paid off for him as well too. You know, quarterbacks around the NFL, it's interesting to know or to see. I'm not sure how much attack they endure or take or plan for or train for in the off season, right? They have these red jerseys on. That means no contact in every single practice that they're in. They don't get any contact in practices, right? And then we have them go in a game where it's live and they can get hit and they don't know how to adjust their bodies or know how to fall, or their leg gets caught up in this weird situation, or they have a hand injury. You know, it's the craziest thing that's happened to not only Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Deshaun Watson is a shell of himself, got a shoulder, a back, hit the back of his head. These guys, Tua's done a great job of learning how to take contact and assume contact and to move his body in a way that where he falls, he's not taking the brunt of it with an injury anymore, right? It's literally when we asked him what's December football, he says, I learned how to fall because he needed to, right? And it's a great training mechanism. I hope other quarterbacks in the NFL learn how to, kind of incorporate it and see Tua, because he's been the most healthiest quarterback in the NFL this season. Oh, Dolphins fans, why would you say that? Why would you jinx it? Right? To go back to your point about the Dolphins and how the media kind of sees them and stuff. Look, they've had a very weak schedule. It's not their fault. They played the teams in front of them and they beat them. One, they haven't let a bad team beat them, like the Jaguars lost to the Bengals last night. Two, three, I think as positive as they've been, it's going to be up to Tua and Mike McDaniel to, call a great game together. Call a great game and play a great game on offense. And there's going to be times this year, we haven't seen it in the last two games. Well, we have seen them go down, but there's going to be times in the next month or so where we're going to say, man, they missed Jalen Phillips. Man, they missed Jerome Baker if he's out extended period of time and not the week to week kind of thing. That's going to be the issue that hurts the Dolphins, is they lose their depth on defense and they're not lighting it up on offense, especially if they don't light it up on offense. That's my only fear for the Dolphins is, man, I wish we had Baker to go run sideline to sideline, or man, I wish we had Phillips to go tackle Josh Allen or Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That's what I'm worried about for Miami.
What do you know about linebacker? What's going on with Baker? How serious is it? Do you just know what they said, that it's not
Yeah,
ending and that's it? And then
yeah.
the other side of it, Reuben Foster. What do you know?
I only know what they've said. Jerome Baker it looked better that he came out of it. MRI was supposed to happen, I believe, yesterday. And McDaniel saying that it's week to week kind of thing is good news. We'll see how much further Bake needs. Maybe it's a Devon A chain kind of thing where he's out, 3-4 weeks. And he can come back for the Bills game. If I'm, I don't know if I want him against Lamar Jackson, but I think you can't keep Bake off the field against Josh Allen. If I'm Bake, I have Josh Allen on my phone screen background, and I rest up my knee and I get ready to go kick that guy out of the playoffs in the final week of the season if he's able to come back. Reuben Foster had a good XFL year, has been trying to come back and try to, come on with some teams in recent years. We'll see if he has any juice left in the tank. I know there's another team out there that he's going to work out for, I believe, unless the Dolphins don't let him walk, after his workout with them, which I believe could be today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dolphins have a delayed week this week because they're playing on Monday night. Instead of practicing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday now.
Okay. All right. Follow him on Twitter, by the way, at Safid_Deen. What do you got going on at USA Today?
Yeah, definitely. It's a football podcast coming out later tonight. My colleague Tyler Dragon and myself will recap the week that was in the NFL. Today, Lionel Messi just got named Times Athlete of the Year. And that was a cool story to kind of read because it's got some FaceTime with Messi in September 2022 when Argentina played at Hard Rock. They had a little some FaceTime there. And then Moss found his way into Messi's box at the World Cup and watched every Argentine game at the World Cup last year in Qatar. So this was a very lengthy negotiation and courtship Inter Miami pulled on Messi, and that's why you got some Messi jerseys hanging up in the background, man.
Yeah, no, and let me tell you something. Because I see people complaining about the ticket prices, and I got to tell you something. Some of you fans out there, you lack realism. Okay, the Moss family built a stadium for fun in Fort Lauderdale. They spent a couple $100 million for a stadium, and they built an academy over there. And they also built a field for high school football to make sure they maintain that. And the entire time, that's so they can buy themselves times while they build Miami Freedom Park. None of it with public money whatsoever. And then now they go and spend money, whether it was Higuain or whatever, and now to Messi and Busquets and
Alba,
yeah, and who's coming now? Is it
Luis Suarez.
Suarez is coming, brother? How much? They got to charge, bro. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
You
not the
people
old Inter
out there.
Miami prices when nobody was going at the games.
Yeah,
They have
dude.
sellout crowds.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, if you don't want to pay for fucking tickets, go to the Marlins. They don't spend shit. They don't spend shit. They don't spend shit. Okay. But if you want Tua and you want, Tyreek and you want to pay for
Hmm.
Jalen Waddle and you got to re-sign this guy and you got to pay, bro.
Yeah, you
You
got
got
to
to
do
pay.
your part.
And if you want them to sign Bobrovsky and you want them to go trade for Kachuk and you want this and you got to pay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I'm watching these. Oh well, I can only get 2 tickets now instead of 4. Well, bro, that's what happens. You have
Yeah.
the best player in the world here. Now, what do
Still
you
in his
want?
prime.
Yeah, so you want to go get free tickets at Winn-Dixie now? Is that what we're talking about?
You got to call
So
the radio station up.
yeah, it's just like in Spanish, there's a word called un descaro, and that's what this is. Some of these people out there, it's just you have lost touch. This
Hmm.
family is spending a fortune and a half to put together the best soccer team in the country and to put together a soccer team that now people are inviting to come play all over the world.
Hmm.
Okay. In fact, Messi was at a qualifier, and guess what kids were wearing? Half
The
of them
pink
were,
jersey. Uh-huh.
that's right, half of them were wearing Inter Miami Messi jerseys.
Yes, they were. It's
And
the hottest jersey out, man. It's the
and,
hottest
and
jersey out.
that's what the Moss family is trying to do. But ladies
Hmm.
and gentlemen, they're not going to go give you $10 tickets to go see Messi when the family is spending hundreds of millions of dollars on facilities and players and everything. You guys have to understand a little bit more. Those people, billionaires don't get rich by being stupid. They get rich because they know how to make money. But the only
Hmm.
way to make money is by actually putting money into it.
Yeah.
And so stop with the complaining.
And even if you get season tickets, there are some games out there that you could sell your tickets and probably get some decent resale. There's some games that are going to be bigger than others.
Right.
Go enjoy the games that are not, and go try to sell your and make your money back in other
Now,
ways if
now
you
they
need
only
to.
allow you to sell a certain amount, or if not, you lose your tickets. But at least those that you can sell, make some money back, and that's it. If you can, dude, whatever.
Hmm.
But please stop complaining, because
Yeah.
if you want LeBron James and Mickey Harrison lowered all the prices before they brought LeBron and Wade and all that because it wasn't going to be a good product. And then when they got LeBron and Wade and all, then they raised the prices back up. But
Yeah. You got to
other
do it.
but if you want LeBron and you want Wade and you want Bosch and you want Ray Allen and you want championships,
You
you
got to
got to
pay
pay.
them.
And if you want
Hmm.
Kachuk, you got to pay. And if you want Tyreek and Tua, you got to pay. And if you want Messi, you got to pay, baby. That's just the way it is. So please stop with the whining and complaining because it's embarrassing.
Definitely, it
It
is.
really is embarrassing for you Inter Miami fans out there that are complaining. We want a world-class team, but we want to pay with food stamps.
I
Sorry,
want
it
a
doesn't
five
go.
dollar ticket. I want a $5 ticket.
Yeah, it doesn't go that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And plus, the stadium is small enough as it is. Barely 20,000. So you gotta make the money up.
Okay. All right, man. Appreciate you as always, Safin.
Have a
We'll
good one.
catch
See
up.
you later this week.
Yeah, we'll catch up on Friday, my friend. Appreciate you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, man. Safid Deen, baby. Safid _ Deen. Baptist Health of South Florida. And when we tell you about Baptist Health, they're the official sports medicine provider for the Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF that spends a lot of money, FIU, FAU, Orange Bowl, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami Open Tennis, Miami Marathon, half marathons, baptisthealth.net/ortho.